All right, welcome again, everybody, to another episode of Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. We got a full house tonight. We're just checking stats here. First time, I think, in 25 weeks, we've had these gents all gathered together here.
My God.
Primarily our most frequent four hosts here. So I'm Cody, myself, and with me I have Justin, Brett, and Joe. The whole cast and crew are here with us
Arr!
today. We're going
Ahoy.
to be talking about a little indie game called Dredge that we all played at once here. We'll briefly let the host tell us what they've been up to since there's four of us here tonight. And we'll go, whoever wants to go first on that. What have you been up to? What have you been enjoying? How much you bench?
I guess I'll go first because I feel like I have the least to say. I've just been kind of plugging away at Labyrinth of Galeria a bit more. Very solid dungeon crawler, fun story, and it's just a very much a comfort game for me. I have no idea how far I am, but it's just been fun exploring the dungeon underneath the old manor. So, yeah. Other than that, just work as usual, and not a whole lot to really report. So nice and quick.
Okay, very good. Who wants to go next?
Okay, well, I so the last time I was on here, I mentioned that I had like a large list of things I'd seen. I like wanted to talk about something else. So I'll just go rapid fire a few things here. So Lockwood and Co. on Netflix. Go watch it. It's great.
Hmm.
Really cool concept. I haven't seen someone in a show before. 8 out of 10. The Imperfects on Netflix. Really fun. I really like the characters. It was a lot of fun. 7.5 out of 10. A movie called The Fair, Fare. We got it on Amazon. It's a recent movie. It's kind of shot in a really kind of cool like, oh gosh, what was I thinking about? It's like a good part of it's black and white to start with, and it's like shot in a way that kind of feels like an old movie. And it has like a pretty cool twist at the end that I enjoyed. It wasn't like a great movie. It was only like 6 out of 10 as a movie, but it was cool enough to watch. Um, watch Top Gun Maverick. Was not as everyone seemed to be like creaming their flight suits over it, and I mean I really enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was like a 10 out of 10. Ooh. I give it a 9 out of 10. It was a good movie.
Oh,
Okay, that's fair.
Um, we also last week binged through the show Jury Duty, which is on Freebie, which is part of Amazon. That was a lot of fun. My wife and I both really enjoyed that. 9 out of 10.
jeez.
And just the other day, we started going through Murderville, and we're 3 episodes in, and I've been laughing my ass off at that show. It is a great show. It is so funny.
Is the best. The special is the best.
The like shocking thing was like Marshawn Lynch was like way better at the improv than Conan O'Brien was. I was like, okay,
Mm.
that was interesting.
Did you watch the Sharon Stone episode yet?
No, we haven't got to that one.
It's not spoiling any of the show, but everyone on the show is just really intimidated of Sharon Stone through the whole episode. So there's that. I would be too, to be fair.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just a list of things we've watched recently.
We're gonna cut Brett's monologue apart. That'll be all our summer episodes right there, folks. The reviews he just gave us. So that'll cover at least June and July. That's awesome. And who else we got? Joe, what have you been up
Oh,
to?
it's me. I'm going to try to keep it brief for once. I've mostly been watching a couple things on Apple TV Plus, which I feel like is a streaming service that not many people have, but they have like a higher hit percentage for TV series than pretty much any other platform.
Hmm.
Okay.
Um, been watching the third and final season of Ted Lasso, which I believe has been mentioned on this podcast before. It has been one of the best shows on TV. I think it is still one of the best shows on TV.
That's about the
Apparently,
cowboy.
no,
Oh,
it's about
what's
an
he lassoing then?
American. It's the character's name is Ted Lasso, and
Oh,
he's an American football coach who somehow ends up going over to the UK to coach a what we call
foosball?
soccer team. But Apparently, a lot of critics have mixed feelings about this season. They think it's like not as good as the first two. I think it's still fantastic. So watch Ted Lasso; it's amazing.
Hmm.
Another show that we just started watching on Apple TV is called The Big Door Prize, and it's got just a really weird premise. We're only like 3 episodes in, so I'm curious to see where it goes. But the premise is it's set in this like really small town where everybody knows everybody, and one day there's like a general store in the town, and one day this machine just like gets delivered to the general store and nobody knows where it came from. And I think the machine's called Morpho, but basically you go into this machine and it prints out a card that tells you your life's potential. And like what exactly that means, I feel like is a little bit open to interpretation. But it's like it tells you your life's potential, and it seems like it has like life-changing effects on the residents of this town. And so people are kind of like grappling with that, and also kind of trying to figure out where this machine came from. So it's kind of a weird, cool premise for a show. It stars
There was a
Chris
Twilight
O'Dowd.
Zone. There was a Twilight Zone episode kind of like that, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it was
I
one of the
wouldn't be
ones Shatner was
surprised.
in. Yeah,
What
but
hasn't
anyway,
the
go on.
Twilight Zone covered?
Well, it stars Chris O'Dowd, who was one of the stars of the IT Crowd. He's like an Irish comedian who I love. So, but yeah, it's a cool show. Other than that, I just want to recommend going outside. Go outside, everybody.
What channel is that on?
It's getting nicer out. It's spring now. Go for a hike. Go sit outside. Just enjoy being outdoors. Get some fresh air. It's great.
Is that a subscription?
Yes.
Okay.
If people want to sit on your deck, do they have to ask permission or?
I mean, everybody wants to sit on my deck.
Okay.
One of my
Okay.
friends actually, literally one of my friends today told me he was upset that I had not sent him any unsolicited deck pictures. So,
Oh,
anyway, what have you been up to, Cody?
nothing.
All right, let's move on.
I have not been doing anything like fun pop culture, video gaming, etc. wise. I've been mostly working outside, so I guess that's part of your outside-y type thing you're talking about. Starting new mini gardens at my house, and this week's just been really busy with makeup music lessons for my kids, and we're kind of all just looking forward to events we have coming up. We have really nothing planned this weekend other than we did get our fresh shiny copy of Zelda Part 2, Tears of the Kingdom. That came today, so we'll probably play a little bit of that before bed. But otherwise, it's mostly like stuff we have coming up, honestly, in the next... I was talking to my mom on the phone today. We're basically booked for like almost 2 months straight. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous how much shit we pseudo-accidentally planned this summer. It's pretty crazy. I need to print off a schedule and actually look at everything because it's all nutty-like. Just like Joe's poo-poo. Yeah, so you mean
Are you okay, Cody? Do you need help?
I'm glad you talked over that part. I didn't want to get canceled. Anyway,
No.
oh
Blink
yeah,
twice if you need help.
I blink with both eyes at the same time. Is that a blink or a winker?
That's a blink by
All right,
definition.
then. There we go then. I've been up too much, so hopefully some Zelda coming up, and that's really about it. School year's winding down though. I got 2 weeks left, a little less than 2 weeks left, so I'm gonna be done pretty quick here. Ha 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 ha! Suckers with real jobs. Yes. Anyway. All right, well, let's jump into our main topic today then. We were talking about a little indie game. How did we get on this topic to begin with? I don't remember. Who suggested this first, or how did this... We all jumped on playing through a game essentially at the same time, except Justin, who boycotted because he wanted to play it later.
Yeah. I totally told GameStop to just hang on to my copy for like 3 weeks because I got such a big backlog. No, yeah, it just got tied up. I have no idea why it took so freaking long for it to get to me. But
Justin paid extra for shipping by Pogo Stick.
I might have to back out. I thought we were going to be talking about the 2012 movie Dredge starring Carl Urban.
Oh.
I totally did the wrong research for this episode. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. I don't remember who initially brought this game up because I remember I had known of it, but I had kind of been on the fence about getting it. Then all of a sudden, someone mentioned it in the chat, And then another one of you was like, "Oh yeah, that looks fun," and I'm like, "Okay, sure, why the heck not? I'll jump on board too." And
It's like a dark idea that just manifested in all of our minds simultaneously.
Ooh. It is kind of weird though. I feel like this is like the most organic episode we've had as far as like just an idea that for some reason we were like, let's all buy a copy and then play it. Which I guess we should mention. So this is a kind of an indie game. Again, this is a little tiny studio out of New Zealand called Black Salt Games, whom I did email to see if they wanted to join us, but they never got back to us. So we blame Justin for that.
I mean,
I don't think we
I
mentioned
delayed this review because my copy didn't get here. Why the heck not? It got shipped directly from New Zealand. So
I don't think we actually got to naming the title of the game yet.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought we did. I thought
Maybe we
Cody
did.
mentioned
Well, either way, this
It's a
is
secret to
the
everyone.
game Dredge, which I think we all first heard of as a genre mashup of a fishing simulator / supernatural horror game,
Yeah.
which would definitely be the number one question I would have if those people were with us tonight is what the hell? Like, how do you come up with that?
Well,
I
have
mean,
you
I'm just
ever-
surprised that it's from New Zealand because if you go to like the southern United States, there's definitely a lot of crossover between fishing and horror. So
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
true.
have you read any H.P. Lovecraft? Like half his stories are about, subaquatic horrors.
Well, that's appropriate then, I guess. No, most of the southern craziness I read about is Florida, so I don't.
Like I said,
Apologies,
subaquatic
listeners
horrors.
down there. Apologies.
We got banned in Florida like a year ago.
That's true. We don't have to apologize anymore. DeSantis has it up for us, and you know it. All right. Well, anyway, this is, like I said, kind of a weird mashup here. As far as the story, there is a little bit of a story to the game. Been a long time since I started this, but from what I recall, you're basically a fisherman who like wakes up with your boat crashed and you need a new boat. And so there's a nearby mayor in this little island who's like, here's a boat you can use, but you got to pay it off. And then it goes from there, essentially. Is that how the game starts? I think.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
thought
that's
it was going
pretty
to
much
be a
it.
much bigger part to the story. Like, I just thought this was going to be evil Animal Crossing when when I first started it. But
yeah, it literally takes like 10 minutes to pay off your boat. It's like
yeah,
it has like no bearing on things at all.
yeah. Then it's like the rest of it's like, well, I guess you live here now, and then things happen. But
Yeah. I was
So,
happy
yeah.
that you didn't have to pay off the boat for a long time. I kind of figured that was going to be the case too, but it was not. So, well, let's see. I guess. Do you guys want to talk about gameplay? You want to continue talking about the story? You want to talk about things we liked, disliked? Where do you want to go with this first?
Do we have to give a spoiler warning, or are we going to hold off on spoilers till later? How do you want to
No,
do
this is going to be full spoiler. Let's
All
just
right.
let's
Okay.
just
full
get into
spoilers
it.
for Dredge.
okay, I guess we can talk. We can sort of. I mean, it's hard to talk about the story without talking about the gameplay.
Okay.
So I think we should probably start with gameplay.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Well, it's a fishing game, so you catch fish. All right, let's talk about the story. Just kidding. All right, gameplay in this
mean-
game. What do you got?
Well,
It's very simple.
Well, it's a
One.
fishing game, so you fish.
Yeah,
what I
but
just
there's different
said.
ways.
I know that's what you just said.
But there's different ways. I mean, looking at at a trailer for this, you know, there's like you have to. It's almost quick time events for some of it where you have to like hit the right button when a little dial goes along a circle, so you bring the fish up quicker, or sometimes there's like sort of like a little thing with obstacles where you have to move a cursor back and forth to avoid getting your net caught on something underwater, and there's a few different variations to the fishing, but they're all little mini games.
Yeah,
Not a
basically
single
all
one
just-
of them feels like fishing. Go ahead, Brett.
it literally just devolves down into just hitting a single button on time to a
Mhm.
a queue. And what's funny is that like, with a fish, you don't even have to hit the button at all. You can just sit back and watch the thing and the meter go up if you want to. The hitting the button just makes it go faster. You could literally catch a
Yeah,
fish and not touch
honestly-
the button all game.
it took me way too long to realize that the advantage of timing it correctly is that it goes faster and therefore in-game time passes less quickly.
Mm.
It took me like way too long to realize that that's what the advantage is. 'Cause I'm like,
Yeah, it's way more efficient.
yeah,
But yeah, there's no real penalties for like even hitting the buttons at the wrong time, except it takes longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
And-
never. I don't think you can you even lose fish. I don't think you
think
can.
so.
It's just a
Think
matter of
so.
like how long it takes to get it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could, I guess, theoretically just get stuck by hitting the button continuously, but
And then something comes along and eats you or whatever.
oh, that's
but-
true. You'd probably die. We'll talk about that eventually here as well. But yeah, so this is a game where you're going around. There's a little map. You have 5 main zones essentially, which 4 of which kind of have their own little theme to them, and one is kind of the center hub of the world. Within the world, you have, what was it, 6, 7, 8 different types of water that you're fishing in, and each one had like different lines that you were using. I should point out too, like it's a fishing game, but it doesn't bog you down with like needing the right lure to catch this type of fish, or having to have a bobber for this or bait for that. Like it all just works without
Thankfully.
any of that, which is good too. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So you're fishing for the fish. There were, am I remembering 120? Is that correct? Seems like that.
Sounds right.
Very
Somewhere
close
You're
to
the
that,
one who
yeah.
caught them all, so
Yeah, I think there's 100. Well, Brett caught them all also, I think.
I did,
Dustin,
yeah.
did you catch them all too?
I forget the number.
I
though.
did not.
I think
Wow.
120 sounds right based on what you had
Yeah,
said
it was at least that, maybe a little more, but
Okay.
that's close enough.
So
Yeah.
quite a few different fish, and you could catch them a variety of ways. Most of them you're going to just fish out of the water. There were a few that you could only get by trawling behind your boat with different nets, and then there were a few that you had to use crab pots for, which I didn't. Did you guys do like the trawling and the crab pots until, or did you do
I-
them at all for the people that didn't catch all the fish? I mean,
Yeah, I did.
I stuck with the crab pots for a while until I kept catching the same 2 types of crabs over and over again. I did
Mhm.
eventually catch a third one, and then it's just like, well, I keep having to go back for these things, and I keep getting nothing for it. So I just kind of left off on that for a bit.
Yeah, I kind of hated like having to retrieve the crab pots and then get them repaired, and just like it just got kind of monotonous after a while. But I did do it like for a while.
Yeah, the pots are a little bit more grindy because they take longer, but they actually make a lot of money pretty quick.
True.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
and you
Yeah,
can
and
fill your
the-
boat basically all in one shot. So there's that.
Mhm.
And the
Trawling
trawling
was cool though.
at the trawling I really only did for one side quest because it was the only way to catch a certain type of, I think it was like a jellyfish or something, and if you ran into them, they like exploded and like would invade your hull and infect what you had caught already. It was weird. But if you dragged your net behind you, you could actually kind of catch them without them, bursting and making everything horrible. So
Let's see what
which
else
I
is-
guess does kind of lead into the other part of the horror aspect of this game, because a lot of the stuff you fish up or dredge up is not normal in any capacity.
Yeah, and we get this hint of that right away at the beginning, right? Where like the town definitely seems off, the people definitely seem off, the night times in the game are weird, and then like you just said, Justin, when you're pulling up some of these fish, some of them are essentially like mutated, or what do they call them, aberrations in the game?
Mhm,
Is that what
right.
they call them? Some
Yeah.
fish have multiple aberration variations. Some have one, or I think there might be some that don't have any. Some of the special fish I don't think have any aberrations, but and that helps that up to that 120 fish. So you're not, it's not a true 120 fish. It's like so many plus variance equals 120.
Mhm.
But that was all kind of fun because you had like a lower percentage to catch some of the mutant fishes, if you were, and those sold for, well, actually, I don't know. Did those sell only for a higher price on the main island? Like the
I
traveling lady seemed to like not care about them as much as the guy in the town did.
And I mean, the fishmonger was super into the aberrations.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, when I
Maybe a
gave
little
him
too
a
much.
yeah, when I handed him a squid with human teeth, and he was just like, I need some alone time, and barred his door from me. It's like, well, that was different.
Yeah, doesn't he bar for like 2 days or something too?
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah, it's quite a
obnoxiously
while.
long. I was like, he's not gonna open this back up again, is he? Holy shit.
I expected him to be dead or had to have mutated into some sort of inhuman
Yeah, I did
monstrosity
too.
himself.
Mhm.
That would have been pretty cool. Yeah, so nighttime is pretty panicky in this game. There's like a sanity meter essentially. We should mention the game operates on like a day-night cycle, like some other games do. A very fast day-night cycle. Like it's not one-to-one real time or anything. I mean, you could play
Yeah.
through 4 or 5 days just when you sit and play the game for a little bit. And as it starts to get dark out, then your options are more limited as far as visibility. There's lighting in the game you can put on your ship, but it is, especially at the very beginning of the game, it's terrible. Like you can barely see what's in front of your ship. And so I didn't venture very far early on. Did you all, or?
I stuck pretty. Go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like I didn't leave the first island for probably 2 weeks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I went like around that island, but not like away out and at the end of the open water.
Yeah,
I went. Oh, go ahead, Justin.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say I pretty much focused on catching all the fish around there that I could find and exploring a little bit, finding little hidden things, and until I kind of did all the side quests that were available at that time. Then I started branching out a bit.
I mean, there are a couple islands that are not too far from the main island, and I kind of ventured over to those, but I didn't go very far until I got some late upgrades.
Mm. Yeah, and the light really does help because things aren't what they seem at night. And you learn that pretty quick once you start getting requests for certain nighttime fish, because you'll be going along and then it's like, there wasn't a rock here before. And if you turn your ship a little to the side, it disappears. I'm like, okay. Yeah, things get weird pretty quickly.
What a terrible night to have a curse.
Right.
Those rocks are the thing is like, so we start, like your boat is not very quick, and that's the only saving grace, because those rocks would absolutely destroy you, because they just literally come out of nowhere. They just like, there literally is not a rock there, and then all of a sudden there's a rock.
Spoken like someone who never used haste directly into a rock.
Oh, I did that. And that also brings up you do get upgrades for, I guess, your ship, but also kind of yourself as the game goes on. It's a little odd, but we said full spoilers, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, there's dark magic involved after a certain point in the game.
Yeah, some spells you can learn from a crazy collector guy who is looking for certain relics that are out there in the open water.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of already hinted at here, but I'd like to talk about that nighttime a little bit. So as it gets darker, you start to get this insanity meter that kind of builds up, and I was reading online, apparently it's changing colors and stuff too, which I bet that's fabulous if you can see that. But anyway, I couldn't, so I just was like, oh, the eye's going super crazy, so this is bad. But as it got dark and you couldn't see, and if your guy needs to sleep every so often to kind of like reset his sanity as well as have daytime come back, the crazier you would get. Then these, like, it really reminded me of Eternal Darkness for the GameCube or the N64?
Yes.
GameCube, right? Yeah.
GameCube.
Which had like, I don't even know how many. I thought it had like 20 or 30 effects, and then I think we looked it up for one podcast, and it turns out there was like 60 or 70 different things that could happen in the game, and this is kind of the same way. So
can I just interrupt for a second? I believe you mean Eternal Darkness : Sanity's Requiem.
It's actually just Sanity's Rectum :
Rectum. I hardly even know him.
Hey-o. So as it got crazier, and I should point out too, I really didn't push the nighttime thing at the beginning. Like I still kind of was like, "Ooh, it's night. I should probably get in and sleep." And then you start to get braver as you go, right? And you'll be like, "Oh, I can stay up one night. That's okay." And then you just start to get crazier and crazier. But what were kind of some of the things you guys encountered at nighttime? I was kind of curious if we all had same experiences here, different experiences.
Those goddamn anglerfish.
Oh God, those
which pose as other boats.
Yeah, it's like, hey, there's another light out in the distance. Wonder what they're all about. It's coming closer. That's not a boat.
I think that was the first one I saw in my game as well. I think that was the first one I saw. Yeah,
I saw the ship. Wow. Well, no, yeah, the rocks first, but the ship I saw like pretty early on, like in the first couple days. But I like did not go investigate it until like later on.
That's smart.
I was stayed away from after that.
Yeah. So
did any of you get like the eyes in the darkness?
Yeah, we got a lot of those.
Oh yeah,
fair amount.
Lots of eyes.
It only happened once, so I don't know if it was like an actual something in the environment or a sanity effect or what. But at night, I was trying to head back to port, and I saw something large and pale, like sort of swim up near me and then disappear. It just it was just a brief little approach and then gone. So I don't know if that was an actual like environmental thing or a sanity thing or what, but it was probably the most effective scare that I had at night, because I didn't know what the heck it was, if it was coming back, if it was going to eat me, if it was going to like capsize my ship or what.
Well, there's like those phantom sharks that like lunge at you and damage
Those
your
sons
ship.
of bitches. Oh,
And those are almost impossible to dodge. They're like heat-seeking missiles.
Oh man,
fucking hated those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
I
I had
haven't
those.
used any
I
of
had those several
those.
times.
Yeah.
But let's see what else.
Let's see. I only got it once, but I did find this on a website. This is kind of the main area I was talking about earlier before we started recording. But one time I had a tentacle come up for me, but just once. I don't know if anybody else had that happen.
I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one thing I did not see.
I mean, I've only had that happen in like certain areas where
Yeah,
it's supposed to happen, but
Yeah.
I never had that like when I was just, randomly out at sea.
Open
Oh,
water.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I only had that happen one time. That was kind of bizarro. And then you all had, I'm assuming, did you all see like the super huge creature at one point?
I
Yep.
saw that during the day.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
I was just
wow.
going along, all of a sudden I see a shape and I stop, I turn my camera, and there's this thing that's like 6-10 times as long as my ship just going by.
I spoiler alert, only saw that at the ending. But I read somewhere, and I don't know if it's true. I read somewhere that thing does follow you throughout the game, and like if you like turn your camera at the right time, you can like see it. I don't know if
What?
that's true, but I read that somewhere.
That's
Oh, that's cool.
terrifying.
Yeah,
That would make the game a lot creepier.
that would be amazing. But I kind of doubt it, but it would be awesome.
Oh my
Huh.
God. That would be very, very terrifying.
Yeah.
So I guess there is, so here's the thing I was trying to look up. So I had put in the message board the one time when I was playing the game that just basically because we've been conditioned to just try shit in games to see if there's some sort of built-in reaction by the game. I mentioned I had sailed off the edge of the map as far as I could and not expecting anything, because I had been on the edge of the map 100 times in various places, but had never like purposely just kept pushing. And because it lets you keep sailing, it's not like there's an invisible border like there would be in a lot of open water games. And you keep going, and then eventually this message pops up on the screen that's like, entering uncharted waters, very dangerous, turn back. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting that popped up. And then if you continue to go on, then your ship is essentially swallowed and ripped apart by a giant monster, which I'm seeing on a couple of wikis here, called the Leviathan, that exists in this world as well.
I think technically that's the same thing as the serpent creature that you encountered. They were just talking about a minute ago. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, I thought it was the same thing.
Yeah, I think it must be. Looking at some pictures here, they have because I had seen all of the side shots with the like sails, it's back fins. I had seen those several times when I had just was killed by the giant creature on the map. But I think when he comes to swallow you, like you only see his head pop up, so like you don't see any of that stuff that you're familiar with his body.
Oh.
But the thing I was trying to look up earlier is, I swear, and I have yet to find a webpage that says this, I know I started taking snapshots after a while to like show you guys all the weird shit I was seeing. But I can't find any reference of this. I swear I played the one day and there was a flying creature that was like sort of like the Leviathan, but was like flying around the air. And I think I even put it in our text that said it was like one of the dragons from Zelda. Because it was like in the sky, and I was like, what the hell is that thing? Like, that scared the crap out of me, but I can't find no reference to it online.
I never saw that. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
no.
I definitely never. The only flying things I ever saw were crows.
Those bastards. Take all your
Yeah,
fish.
stealing my fish.
The crows.
I mean, it could have been something out there though, because I only saw dolphins once.
Really?
And
Okay.
yeah.
I saw dolphins and a whale.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a whale and dolphins.
But yeah, I just in my entire playthrough, just a one-time thing. Same with the Leviathan itself. I mean, I only saw it swim by me that one time, and
That's
part of me wanted to
crazy.
follow it but then part of me was like, it's going to kill me if I follow it. So I just kind of watched it go.
Did you
It does.
go ahead.
I'm looking at a Dredge wiki right now, and it does say the Leviathan can be encountered in the open ocean, either between regions or at or beyond the borders of the map, which that's what you're talking about, Cody.
Okay,
Mm.
so it's definitely the same
Sufficiently
thing.
high panic, with a sufficiently high panic, the Leviathan will appear and surface its large fin near the boat. If the player does not return to shallow waters after being spotted, the Leviathan will emerge and instantly kill the player. So it sounds like the Leviathan does pop up in various scenarios.
Okay. All I can think is it must have been that, and it just was like a weird angle or something at night, and maybe
Maybe.
that's what I
Or maybe
saw.
it was a
'cause-
glitch and it ended up not in the water.
No, I mean, it could be, I guess. I don't know. But I can't find any reference to that. That's why I'll have to check those snapshots I took. I doubt I got one of that, because if it's the only time I saw it, I would be like, what the fuck? All right. And then I guess for other interesting creatures here, just while we're on the topic, not sanity related, but we had trio of wonderful creatures out there for everybody, which was the unseeing mother in the lava world with her little kids, and the tentacle basin creature. And then we had the well, they call him the serpent, which I don't like the name on that, but the
Oh,
one
I
that was
hated that guy.
Oh,
one that like rumbled the mountain and then chased after you.
Where you had no real way to get away from it.
Yeah, that thing was the worst.
You could eventually
Always-
like
it was
outspeed
always
it,
like
but
right up your ass.
yeah,
Mm.
you like couldn't
But
even.
if you were like in the middle of trying to fish or dredge something up, then and it pops up, you're like, well, there goes half my cargo.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was going to ask all of you, just as a fun question, like, who was your least favorite enemy in the game?
That thing.
The serpent one?
Yeah, I fucking hated that thing.
I think I have to agree. I wasn't a fan of the lanternfish either, but that was mainly because I ran into them most often before I had upgraded my engines, so I couldn't get away from them. They would just like keep closing the distance until they ran into me.
Yeah, the ones in the lava area, at least by the time, well, if you do things in the order they they want you to do them, by the time you get there, you have the banish ability, and you can like get rid of them. If you get like in a really bad spot. So they didn't necessarily give me a hard time. That stupid, the whatever they called it, that
The serpent
thing was a pain in the ass. But the other one in the basin was just like, it was really unimpressive. Like it was very easy to avoid, and once you got the thing to to scare it off, it was like non.
It was essentially
issue.
not there. Yeah.
It was. I wish they would have done more with that, because it was like that place was super easy.
Yeah.
It was like nothing, no danger ever.
It was very visually distinct, but yeah.
It was cool little area,
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say either the phantom shark, probably the lava fish would be my number one, though, because I hated how frequent they were.
They were everywhere.
Even if you used banish, then it was it was unavailable for like so long until it recharged, and it was like every 30 feet had a pack of those damn lava babies that come chasing after you, and most of the time you can make it to a geyser to get rid of them, but sometimes you couldn't. And the turning up there was terrible, because it was all those little sharp 90-degree turns, and if you were actually trying to collect all the shit from in the ruins and dredge where you needed to dredge, I mean, that was very hard. I died a million times there, but that was probably my least favorite world to go around in, that's for sure. All right, what else we got here? All right, so we got we had a little bit of different experiences with some of the stuff, sounds like that.
Honestly, I think the biggest difference in anyone's playthrough in this would probably be the NPCs and the hidden things that you find as you go. Because I have a feeling there's a set number of like sanity effects and that sort of thing, but depending on how much you explore, there are things you very well might see that other people don't.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that, because it's a static map and it's not a very big world. and yet, like when we were mentioning playing through it, like there were a lot of things that somebody found that somebody else didn't find, like you were just saying, Justin. The one thing, I have some criticisms and some compliments for this, but one thing I hated about this game was you couldn't zoom in on the map. I absolutely hated that.
Or put any markers down.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Even to just be
wholeheartedly.
like, here's this type of fish, or here's
Or
that
here's where I
altar
found
that I
the-
found, or
here's where I found that creepy pervert who wants his alone time with his fish. I found a guy in like a blue robe who was always like, feel the hunger inside me." Yeah. And it's like, no, need more. And it's like, you're creeping me out, dude.
Did
And then
any
you
of you
starve to
guys?
death.
Did any of you guys? I think there's like 4 of the robed figures. Did anyone find all of them?
I only saw one.
I only
Yeah.
saw 1 too, but I think I read
I
that
found
there's 4 of them.
3.
I
Oh,
think there were 3.
Oh, maybe
I wanna
there's
say.
3.
Huh.
But yeah, definitely found them all. Definitely only succeeded on 2 of them.
Yeah, one of them died before I could feed him.
same.
I-
I tried.
I played the game spoiler free, but Joe was like, "Watch out for these robed guys if you find them." And like
there
when you
are 4 of them.
oh, are there 4? Okay.
Oh, okay.
When you find them, it's like, especially if you find them early in the game, you're like, I don't really know what's going on right now. Or like the one I found was like, I want this variation of this eel or something, and I was like,
Mhm.
I have no idea where to find that at this point. So, and
Yeah,
Joe
you
was like,
find them.
Joe's like, they can die, and I was like, all right, but he was on my quest board, so I was like, it's fine. And then I finally got back to him, and it was like he died a long time ago. I was like, oh shit.
Yep. You're a horrible person.
Yeah, if you find them too quick and you don't know where to find those fish, then yeah, you're kind of screwed on those.
Yeah.
But
Well, this kind of brings up a question I wanted to ask you guys, because I feel like I kind of played this game wrong. And so I'm curious, like, how did you guys approach it? Like, so for me, once I realized that you can upgrade your boat and like expand the hull space and stuff like that, I just kind of hyper focused on that for a long time, because in my mind, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to need all these upgrades. Like, especially the hull space, I'm like expecting that at some point I'm going to encounter like a massive creature that I need like 50 hull slots for or something.
Oh, you sure do.
And turns out that's not really the case. But like, I honestly feel like that was detrimental to my gameplay experience, because I spent so much time grinding and trying to like get all the materials I needed to get all these upgrades that by the time I got there, I was kind of like getting burnt out in the game.
Oh,
So like, did everyone else just kind of like try to focus on the story points, or like, how did you guys approach it?
I try whenever I found a side quest, I would focus on that. But in between those, I would, if I saw new fish that I hadn't caught yet, I'd go after those. But for the most part, I focused on my engines, getting those things upgraded so I could avoid the worst of the crazy crap that comes after you. Because I was getting tired of getting run down by those freaking lanternfish. So, but yeah, I just kind of when I discovered something new, I would check it out. If there was an NPC there who had something for me to do, I would focus on that for a bit, and then just when that was done, I would move off and try to find the relics that the creepy guy on Blackstone Manor wanted you to find. So it was me, kind of like a balance, I guess.
yeah, as soon as I realized there was upgrades and new equipment to buy and things like I immediately went into my RPG mode and just started grinding out stuff, because I actually kind of enjoy that kind of thing. So I don't, it definitely wasn't a detriment to my play. I kind of like you spent a lot of time at the beginning just upgrading things before I really did much.
I mean, I like doing that stuff in RPGs where it actually has a payoff, but
I as well assumed that I would
did
like
in this game.
yeah, that these things would be like a huge help, and they are, but they're not like you could go the entire game without upgrading anything.
Yeah, like there were certain parts, like upgrade trees that I didn't even touch, like the ones for nets. I don't think I touched that a single time during my playthrough. I think I upgraded like one crab pot, but for the most part, it was hull space and engines, a few lights, but that was about it.
Yeah, definitely. I was probably more balanced. Definitely more the hull I wanted to be bigger, and then the lights and the speed, like you said. I didn't put a lot into the fishing lines. You did need somewhat because you had to have the right thing to continue on with some other quests. But
true.
I kind of tried to do like an island at a time, and just kind of upgrade as I went. But I actually kind of had like I don't know exactly how you went about grinding, if you're just looking for like random item drops or what, but I kind of got to a point at some point in the game where like I just wasn't finding more material anywhere and was like, well, I can't upgrade a whole lot more. So
Well, I kind of I realized that there were a couple islands which are like not too far from the main island where there were like different shipwrecks you could dredge and stuff would respawn after a couple days. So I
Yeah.
basically just kind of like kept going and dredging and getting all those materials. And then I would just go around and fish for a while and wait for that stuff to respawn and just kind of round that way.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the pursuit map or pursuit menu on the game also. I must have saw the 4 figures and the colors because this has all the spots filled and I had all the spots filled at the end. I don't know what did they do though? Oh, they gave you what did they do? They give you an upgrade? I don't
Yeah,
know
they
what-
give you upgrades. I mean, I only got one of them and it was like, I forget what it was, but it wasn't something that was really like game changing.
I think
They
they-
gave you like a 5% boost to something.
Oh.
Yeah, did they give you straight upgrades or did they give you books, which give you upgrades?
Might have been books. Might have,
It-
you may
yeah,
have,
it might have
you're
been
right.
books.
The altars gave you upgrades.
Yeah.
Like the ones where you like splop the fish in there that they're looking
The
for.
fish
and then
refrigerators.
Yes, yes. Well, the first one I found, I didn't realize it was asking for a specific type of fish. And for our listeners at home, as you're sailing around, you'll find odd things besides just NPCs, and some of these are like rock formations with stuff carved into them, and those they have spaces where you could fill them with fish. So I just took random things out of my hull and slapped them in there just to fill the spots, and then nothing happened.
Yeah, you did.
So I was like, oh, maybe this is just some sort of storage thing where I can keep them there and they won't go bad, and I can come back for them later. Fish refrigerator. But no, each one of them needs a specific type of fish that if you fill them up, then they give you an item. Which I only really got one, and it wasn't terribly useful at the time that I finally filled it up. But
yeah, I think I only maybe got 2 of them. 2
I
or
only
3.
did one also.
I don't remember.
Yeah. I mean, they're suitably creepy. Like the thing I got was some sort of like sinew hook or something like that, which let me fish in a certain type of water, but it was really
Oh yeah,
slow.
I got that one too.
Yeah, but they're just kind of eldritch replacements for things that I think you can largely buy in the stores if you have the money.
So the wiki is calling them both shrines and rock slabs both, but the one that was in the Twisted Strand was just like at the base of like this mangrove tree in the middle of like one of the entrances. I couldn't find that fucking thing that's the one I kept swearing about for like a half hour. Like I sailed around that island for a half hour on the shore, just like tapping the button. I could never find that thing. And when I finally found out where it was, I was like, it's right at the entrance, but it was like not on wasn't on a wall, which is where I would assume it was, like on a shore. It was like in the middle of the river under a tree. I just could not find that thing again.
Yeah, it was easy to get lost in the mangrove area, the strand. I mean, that was
that was a fun little stage though. Like I love games that can manipulate a little space and make it so cool like that.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. What was the quest I told you all I did super late? It was like the initial fishmonger, I think, was like, give me a carp or something. And I was like, oh, I forgot to go back to that guy. I never did it.
Yeah, I remember I said I had given him the mutated squid, and he locked his door, and you were like, oh yeah, I didn't do that until like day 100 or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's day 15 for me.
How quickly did you all solve the quest with the dog? I'm curious.
I never even got the dog.
God damn it, Joe.
Surprising. I actually got that one surprisingly quick. I mean, not finding the dog, that was probably like day 40 or 50. But I only carried him around for like a week or so until I happened to find the person who would be his forever home. And I was worried though, because I meant there are things you can run into out there that will like infect fish in your hull. And that happened to me while I was carrying the dog. And I remember hopping on the chat and I'm like, okay, I don't like spoilers in general, but will this kill the dog? It's because I had stopped my game after that happened. And I'm like, I don't want this to happen if it'll kill the dog. And I don't think it can. So
It would have been interesting if it would have like mutated into like a squid dog or something.
No,
That's
I
what
don't
was
want
worried
that.
about.
You
Yeah.
could throw it overboard to like catch fish. That'd be fun. Brings them back
It
to you.
was always creepy, the fact that you could be, driving your boat around and suddenly the text will pop on the screen. Something has slithered into your cargo hold.
Yep. I'm like, you don't touch my dog.
Oh, and then it just
To go all John
Yeah.
Wick on the
Oh, it's so
friggin'
creepy.
deep ones.
It usually only happens after I go to the bar.
Hey,
I think I mentioned I had a really, really hard time with the dog quest because I had them really early. I find them on an island or something, and then
Mhm.
I didn't know what to do with them, so I just put them in storage for like 90 days. And
you
everybody,
go.
I was like, somebody's got to mention a lost dog, and nobody ever mentioned a dog at all. And I'm like, is this just like a red herring or what's going on here? And then later, like towards the end, I was like, maybe you have to have him on your boat when you talk to people. And I found it fairly quickly after that too, but I just didn't have him on the because he took up so much space and the boat was so small. I was like, screw
Yeah.
this. I'm not taking the dog around.
One of my favorite, just like amusing myself things is like, so one of the things that in some of the quests you would like carry passengers, like different islands and stuff, and it's funny because you place them in your boat like they're any other piece of like cargo.
yeah,
And
I
you
always
could, like,
thought that was hilarious too.
you could to put things in your boat, you can like rotate them to make them fit properly, like Tetris. And I was just like, I'm gonna turn you upside down, you son of a bitch.
You gotta
Stick you in this corner.
have your head rest between the spider crab's claws.
Don't worry, they don't bite.
Yeah, exactly. Love it. All right, let's see here. Is there anything you didn't know until really late in the game or until you read it afterwards on a walkthrough? I'll give you for example. I didn't know the entire game that you could scare the birds with the horn.
Ooh.
I didn't either.
I didn't know that either.
I read
Like the
that on a
crows?
walkthrough. Yeah, when they come to your boat, you can do the horn to get rid of them.
Huh.
I was
Yeah.
wondering if there was a use for the horn and never
Right?
never tried it.
I believe the horn also actually attracts the anglerfish ships.
I learned that the hard
Oh.
way because I tried to scare them off with it.
It's
I
like,
tried that too.
why does this guy keep trying to do my mating call?
Story of my life.
So many.
I mean, my big thing that I didn't realize until much later on is what I already mentioned about the fact that not many of the upgrades are actually necessary.
Hmm.
Like I wish I
probably-
had
yeah.
focused more on the story earlier on. I feel like I would have had a better time with the game.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I
um,
didn't enjoy it, but
Yeah, well, like I said, well, this was fairly early on that I realized the whole debt thing wasn't going to be an issue, but I honestly thought that there would be more done with the crab pots because I thought that was going to be an integral part of something further down the line. So I stuck with them for a good long while, only to find out that, oh, I can just not use these at all and have more room for my actual fish and not worry about them just getting destroyed because I forgot where I put one. Yeah, so I learned those were entirely optional much later than I probably could have.
I don't think the crab pots or the trawling was really needed for a lot besides collecting all the fish, which, conversely, I ran into that problem at the end when I was determined to get all of the fish and I hadn't upgraded the pots and the trawling. And I was like, oh, crap, now I need to just exclusively upgrade these for a while to find those last fish. I was curious, what do you guys, so the mini games we kind of talked about were just kind of pointless, whatnot. Is there anything you wish they would have done different? For mine, it would have been, even if they kept the recipe the same for the dredging, which was, if you haven't played this and you're listening, essentially you have like an inner ring and an outer ring with some obstacles. And every time you tap the button, your little circle would kind of jump from one ring to the other ring and you were trying to not hit the obstacles. I wish different spots that you dredge would have had like different speeds to them or different sizes on the obstacles or like some, little small changes that would have made each of those feel really different. I think
It was
would have been fun.
repetitive.
It
Yeah.
was. Yeah, I can certainly agree with that. Or even heck, just add a way to fail. Like, because otherwise, like we said earlier, the only thing it costs you is time. But if there was a way to like get your line caught and snapped or something like that, or to lose your catch, I mean, at least that would have been something to vary it up a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, so like
go ahead.
the fishing just in general, it's like super simple. It's like you can't get much more simple than that. It was kind of chill and fun though. I mean, overall it was, reasonably enjoyable. But I definitely could use a bit more skill involved in it.
I mean, I have played like RPGs where that have fishing mini games, and you know, the fishing is as simple as hitting a button when a circle, you know, hits a certain spot on the screen. So that's, at least it was more complicated than that. But like you've said earlier, though, you don't even need to do that if you're okay waiting all the time that you need to for it to just automatically get pulled up.
Yeah, most games at least you have to at least like move left or right or like push up or something to like reel in, or there's at least something else involved in just hitting a single button.
Yeah, but I do agree that it was kind of relaxing. I mean, this is probably the most relaxing Lovecraftian horror game I've ever played.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, despite the occasional oh crap moments where, you know, something's chasing you, but for the most part, if you're out in the daytime, it's very chill. There's nice music. It's pretty to look at. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something relaxing, you could do a lot worse than this.
Yeah.
I mean, I went into this like expecting like way more tentacles, like hide your wife and kids level of tentacles.
Oh boy.
But
I have some
Japanese
websites I can
version.
steer you towards.
Try to keep you away from jumping to the front of the line, tentacles.
Seriously though, it was pretty light on the Lovecraft horror
Yeah,
aspect.
that's the criticism that I saw a couple websites had, is that like the true like eldritch horror doesn't really rear its head until the very end of the game.
Mhm. There's a couple things like I wrote down here that I think for sure a stronger music score would have helped a lot, because there wasn't like, even if it was just like at night, so like something like really creepy, like this low creepy music playing or something would have done a lot. But there wasn't really, was there any music in the game? I don't think there was.
It was very subtle, but it was always kind of there in the background. Just basic instrumental stuff, nothing too obtrusive.
Okay.
But very soothing. And like I said, it's a very soothing game when you're not being chased around by something.
I actually couldn't remember if there was music or not either. So
Yeah.
I mean, I have the soundtrack. There was a download code for the soundtrack.
oh, that's
So
true. I
was
guess I
using
do too. I haven't downloaded it, but
but yeah. What was I gonna say?
I mean, speaking of audio, how about that voice acting?
And in the credits, isn't the first credit
Like the
devoted to
first
voice
thing
acting?
is voice actors, and like I seriously thought that was a joke. Like, so weird.
Maybe they had someone make crow noises. for the
I mean,
birds.
it must have been something like, I was trying to remember, like, is there any audio along with the text and dialogue, like
They
Simlish sounds or anything?
Yeah,
They
they
have
like-
there's like a and
Yeah, they
or
like
things like
grunt and hum like most Nintendo games.
that. Yeah, that was weird.
it was funny.
Like even the opening cutscene, I think is devoid of any voice acting, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there is no like actual voice acting
Yeah,
in the
I don't think
games
it's not a single word that's actually spoken.
Weird. But were we
Yeah,
still on
again,
things that
saying
we-
it is a
Oh, go
team of 4 people. Just
Yeah, that's
to
fair.
put it into perspective.
That's true. I mean, for 4 people, this is a hell of a game.
I
Yes.
agree.
I mean, I'm going to rate it kind of based on other games, but I don't think 4 of us could put this together.
I'm gonna say we're 4
No.
people. We can make this game.
True. Were
were
we
you
still
say,
on-
Justin?
Were we still on things?
Yeah, whatever
that
you
we
got,
wish
man.
they'd done better, or
Yeah, whatever you got.
okay. I'm going to say when I got to an ending in this, it was incredibly abrupt and entirely unexpected. Because the ending I got hinged
Yeah, let's talk
entirely.
about that.
Yeah, hinged entirely on me finding what I'm almost 100% sure is a completely missable NPC. It was just a guy I found stranded on an island that had no name. It was just a little, circle on a map or whatever. That if I had gone a different way and had not bothered to check it out, I never would have even known he was there. But I happened to see him, so I go over and start a conversation with him, and within 20 minutes, credits are rolling because he completely changed the direction I took, and it was just the most abrupt swerve.
That's
I
crazy.
I liked the ending I got. Don't get me wrong. It was just part of why I haven't gone through and gotten the other ones yet, because I feel it was probably the most Lovecraftian thing in the game for me. but it was at the same time, it's entirely missable, and it was just such a small thing that triggered it. Did you want me to go into detail? Or...
I was gonna talk
I
about the endings anyway, so
I may or may not know who you're talking about.
the okay,
May or
yes, yeah, you may.
the horseshoe crab, the mayor.
But yes, yeah, so full spoiler territory at this point. But yeah, I happened across the old mayor, and I didn't realize there had been an old mayor even until that point.
Oh,
Um,
seriously?
oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah, it may have been mentioned like in the early
Yeah.
hours of the game, but I forgot about it. But
Okay.
I'm just like putting around, and I, there's an island over there I haven't been to, and it looks like there's a shipwreck or like something on the beach. So I go over there, and there's like a guy, just wearing tattered clothes and just stranded there. So I go over and I start chatting with him, and he's like, he's lost his mind at this point, but he's like, "You're back," or something like that, and I'm like, do I know you?" He's like, "Don't play coy with me," and just this thing where it's like, it's clear he knows, he seems to know who I am, and I think I asked him something about like the guy on Blackstone Manor, and he like clammed up, and he said, talk to the lighthouse keeper. So I'll go and talk to her, and she's like very evasive and everything too, and she's like, you know, we've been through this before, and I'll tell you again. And she's basically kind of evasive answers. So I go and talk to him, and there's this confrontation where I'm like, give me the book, because he's got this book full of spells that he casts on you as you give him the artifact he's looking for.
Does he, Justin?
Well,
What?
but here's the swerve. So if you tell him to give you the book back, he'll refuse, and then you get into a struggle. And then one of the options is like punch him in the face or something like that. And so I picked that, and this, like I said, this is the part that actually made the narrative come together for me. So you swing your fist and you hit a mirror, and he is you. And you have been deluding yourself this entire time. There's this whole subplot that's sort of told through messages in a bottle that you can find about how you lost the love of your life.
I
And
believe it's entirely told through messages and bottles.
I think it is. There might be some lines of dialogue with NPCs. I don't quite remember, but yeah, this whole thing centers around you having a mental break and doing whatever you can to try and bring her back. And there's a choice you make after you find this out, where you can go through with it, or you can throw the book back into the sea, which is what I did. And thus I saved potentially the entire world, but at least this archipelago from a fate worse than death at the tentacles of unseen subaquatic horrors. And to me, that was a really fitting end. And it felt like something that would have been from the Cthulhu mythos, really, where, a man who's completely snapped, lost his sanity, has a glimmer of clarity and sacrifices everything to save everyone else. I mean, to me, that was a satisfying ending. But all of that story happened in the span of 20 minutes, more or less, minus the little glimpses that I had leading up to that point. So I do kind of wish it had not all hinged on me happening across a crazy old man wearing rags on a beach.
I mean, it's so fascinating that that's your experience to me, because my ending also hinged on an NPC, but it was the lighthouse keeper. Like, I had the old mayor a long time ago into the play, and I had no clue I was supposed to talk to the lighthouse
Really?
keeper.
Oh,
And so I got the bad ending. Like, I assumed that was the ending, which I watched both of them. I still prefer my ending to your ending, which actually made the 5 relics of somewhat importance, which otherwise they're not. So, Brett, what did you get? Did you ever tell us which one you got?
The first ending I got was the same as Justin, but I got to it at like day 130 or something like that is when I finally finished the game. And then I basically went right back into the game and finished it the other way as well. So I saw both endings, but the first one I got was the throwing the book back and saving everything.
Is that what you got also, Joe?
Yes.
It's just so strange. Like, I'm looking at the walkthrough, like the ending that you 3 got requires 12 things to happen, and the ending I got requires 5 things to happen.
Really?
So
Because
it's
it feels like you
bizarre.
just need to find the old mayor and then confront your other self and throw the book back. That's all it feels
Well,
like.
but so I mean,
Yeah.
your ending involves more like action though, Cody, because
Mhm.
you can get the quote unquote good ending without doing anything in the lava area.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, I know you guys said that, but I'm trying to figure this out. Also, this is like another weird mystery about this game because, like, even in your ending, the walkthroughs are like step 1, have all 5 relics obtained. Like, and one of those is in the lava world.
You don't need all 5 relics.
Nope.
You only need
So
4
these
of
are all
them.
wrong.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. Um.
What? Something on the internet is not correct?
Well,
Shocking.
I know
You
it's
jest.
it's a little shocking if multiple sites are saying something. I think for a game walkthrough, those aren't usually different. I was saying before the podcast, there's some weird variances on the footage of this game so far. Anyway, but so mine was interesting because you collected these 5 items that the collector wanted you to get. See, I had gotten to the point where I smashed the mirror pretty early also in my playthrough because I had the relics relatively early, and then I was trying to like I said, find all the extra shit in the world and do some of the side quests and keep catching fish and all this other stuff. So day wise, I already had smashed the mirror and I knew like that plot twist ahead of time. But I didn't catch apparently wherever the nugget is that you were supposed to go talk to the lighthouse keeper again. So I didn't know I was supposed to do that. So I went to like the collector and he was like, take me with you on your boat and we're going to go do this thing out in the water. And this like beam shoots out of the water instead of out of the lighthouse. And I gather, I think I read in some walkthrough, it's the same spot on the actual world. But you go there and then like you pull out the 5 relics one by one and toss them overboard. And it's like, this is the stopwatch to stop time from blah, 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 blah. This is the thing that does this. So each of the items had like a little part to the like poem or the story that they were telling. And then your seemingly dead wife comes back to life out of the ocean. And then you are promptly summoning. I don't know if is it the Leviathan as well here? I don't know, some giant creature.
No, it's a different.
larger.
Yeah,
Is it a big one?
it's more Cthulhu-esque.
Okay.
Yeah, you
I
never see
this.
more than its like top half of its face.
I see. Yeah.
Huh.
There's a little picture here of it, I guess. I didn't know how you were supposed to find the good ending. That's all I had, but apparently
By
I'm
using a
weird one.
walkthrough like I did.
So yeah, it says they don't really know who the monster is. It's guarding the book because I think the book you don't throw over in the bad ending. Is that correct?
Correct.
I would imagine not.
You keep it and then you have the 5 relics that you throw overboard. So that's interesting too. I mean, it's only the 2 endings it seems like, but
I believe so.
Yeah, because I would have thought like the creepy fish guys in the robes would have factored in maybe, or how many side quests you did or something like that. I
Yeah.
thought that might influence things too.
it's a little surprising like what does and doesn't really change a lot for the ending in this game, but I don't know. I kept thinking of like they could have did this to tweak it to make this part a little bit better or more variety or whatever, but maybe again knowing that this is a 4-person team, that's just like asking a lot for what I mean, they've made a really competent game for 4 people, that's for sure.
They did.
Let's see what else we got in here. One other thing, I wasn't sure if either of you had this. Justin, you might have. Did you had the deluxe version also?
Yes.
Did you use the Blackstone Key expansion
Ooh,
that came in your pack?
do not think I did, because usually I like to experience the game like the vanilla version first before I add on any like pre-order bonuses and that sort of thing. So
I think I bought the digital deluxe edition, but I don't know what the DLC is or what it does.
All it did, so I waited till I was really far in the game and was pretty sure it wasn't going to change too much, but it basically gives you the key to the garage on Blackstone Island. That's always locked.
I did use that then.
Okay, yeah, and it gives you 2 extra. Basically, it's just 2 extra items from as far as I can tell. One was that
There's
weird
like
little tablet
engine
thing. Yeah, one was an engine, and one was like a tablet that raised like the occurrence of aberrations that you caught. Was essentially the other one.
Okay.
So totally, I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way to buy those, but if they came with your game, just throw them in there, I guess. Which I was happy it opened that garage because I didn't even pick up that it was called the Blackstone Key and it was Blackstone Island. I didn't even put that together because again, how stupid I am. But I was happy it opened the garage because that was going to drive me nuts why that thing was locked forever. So
Yeah, I totally
Okay.
didn't even realize that was part of the DLC. I was just like, I'll try to open this shed.
Gotcha.
maybe yours was like automatically in it then. I think I had to like put a key in for mine on
Mine
the
just opened.
physical
Oh, you mean
version.
like to add that to your
Because you had the
game?
digital.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think because
Yeah,
I had the digital
makes
one, it
sense.
was just there.
yeah. I was also kind of surprised. This is going just a whole other direction here, but when Brett had finished first, I asked him if he had caught all the fish, and you said yes, I think. And then I asked if you had caught all the trophies, and you were like, I don't think so. And I was like, what? You could totally catch all the trophies on these. And then the further in the game I got, I was like, no, there's a lot of these you don't get even a chance to catch the trophy on.
Yeah, I never went back and checked how many of the trophies that I got.
Yeah,
It probably was a good number of them, but I'm sure it wasn't all.
Mhm.
yeah. Okay, what else we got? Anything else we didn't cover? What was your least favorite world? Or your most favorite world, I guess. Did you guys like the twisty one? That was your favorite?
I
That was a cool little plot in that world
yeah, I
Which
like the
one?
mangrove.
with Colonel Mustard blowing up sea serpents.
Oh yeah, I like
That
that
one
one
was
a
fun.
lot. That was
Yeah.
fun.
I think the second place with the caves and the stupid freaking serpent that would
Gale
never leave you alone. I think
Cliffs
that
or
was
whatever
my
it was.
I think
Yeah.
that was my least favorite.
Your least
My
favorite,
least
yeah.
favorite was the lava area because of the stupid fish.
Oh, so the lava world, because one or two of you said, Justin, you said you never went to the lava world? Or Joe
Correct.
did?
Well, I went there, but you don't have to actually like complete anything there in order to get the good ending for the game.
That's what I was saying.
Right.
They have that
So-
second. Somebody thought I was joking, but they had that second lighthouse there that you go in.
I
so
thought you were
that's-
joking.
No,
but
so
I subsequently learned you were not.
did you go up the
Huh.
lighthouse?
Yep, I got all the goodies out of it.
Yeah.
Wait. So do you get out of your ship at some point?
They don't
You
show
don't
you,
see it.
Oh, okay.
but
okay.
like the camera switches to like
It's
you're
all
up
by
top
text.
and
Gotcha.
but that was like really the only part of the game really that like expanded on the mythos. I thought of the story was like, here's this ancient civilization and it was ruined because one of the websites I was just on was speculating that the rumbly fish was the one that caused all the problems, but who knows.
Hmm.
But all these signs of like ancient civilizations and something went wrong and blah blah blah.
Huh.
So they tried to like expand, but like it also was weird at that point that that was like the last world you went to. So like if they're going to introduce like a backstory, it was almost like too late at that point.
Yeah, it would have been
Yeah.
better to get some of that doom and gloom prophecy stuff at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for
Um,
a big chunk of this, I really didn't know what the story was. I mean, obviously you crash and you're kind of shipwrecked, but once you pay off your ship, it's just okay. I guess I'm going to stick around here for a while. It's just sort of like I collect fish, and oh, there's this guy who wants me to get a bunch of stuff for him. I guess I'll do that. And that was kind of for 90%, 95% of the game. That was the story. And it wasn't until I stumbled across the old mirror that anything else really kind of raised its head. There was a little I mean, every time you find one of the relics and give it to the Blackstone guy or yourself or whatever, if you touch down again in Greater Marrow, the starting town, the lighthouse keeper will come up to you on the dock and berate you a little bit cryptically. And I think that's the only other hint you get that there's something else going on here.
Yeah, I think
Unless
I think that's my biggest criticism of the game is that I mean, and that's why I spent so much time like grinding to upgrade and like not feeling like I had any direction. I mean, I like that you have to kind of piece a lot of the plot together yourself, but I wish there had been just a little bit more of a push in certain directions. Because I think it would be easy to get to some sort of ending and miss like a lot of the pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, if you didn't find or didn't bother picking up the messages in the bottles, you could theoretically go through the whole game and not really get any plot at
Yeah.
all.
right.
Yeah, and that's a problem because Justin, when we did the Signalis podcast, like same thing. It's all the story is written, and if you don't take the time to read all those text files, you're
Mhm.
just kind of floating through on what you think is going. Well, but actually, what the hell is going on in the story? So you are the bad guy, and the town is cursed because of the curse of the book. Is that ultimately what's going on?
Well,
Yes, but it's so what had happened was
What had
I mean,
happened was
the story is really told through those letters, which were written by your dead wife.
a wife
So
who
basic,
died. Oh, go on.
so I mean, basically, you were a fisherman, and you and your wife, arrive in this area, and like at one point, you dredge up a old casket, and it turns out that it was like cursed or something, and
And the book was inside.
yeah, the book was inside the casket, and it turns out that that's a real bad thing to have around. So, said book awakens something from the depths, which destroys your original boat, which you can actually find that around one of the islands. There's a boat that
Oh.
looks exactly like the one that you are using.
Okay. Yep.
Nice.
So it destroys your boat, kills your wife, and drives you to insanity. And so eventually, unbeknownst to yourself at the start of the game, you end up as a fisherman again. And the collector is like your alternate personality. But basically, the collector is you trying to get these items to resurrect your dead wife who you accidentally got killed.
So I guess my
And
question is, I'm thinking
consequences
about
be
this
damned.
more is like how do the other people not react to you that way though? Like now that I'm thinking about this more, like
They kind of do.
The
Well,
lighthouse keeper does for sure.
Yeah, she's the only one.
she's the only one though, right?
The mayor
Uh,
doesn't
Like
really
the
recognize you.
fishmonger's like, oh, get a fish and sell it over
Yeah.
here.
Well, I think,
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's like something off with most of the, like, especially the new mayor, like, obviously replaced the old mayor, and he seems like there's something
Yeah.
weird about him.
Mhm.
The fishmonger is like insane.
Well, there's that also brings up something. Like, nothing's ever really done with them. I expected them to factor more into the story, like to have their own, influence on events, or
Yeah.
Cult
maybe
or something.
yeah, or maybe something bad would happen to them directly if you did something or didn't do something. But really, it's only the creepy, robe guys who end up dying if you don't fill their hunger.
I think one of you had mentioned it, but I was kind of really hoping the dog was actually like the Cthulhu demon in disguise.
How do you know the dog
Turns
is
into
evil?
the thing.
We'll give him shifty eyes.
He could be killing the researcher right now, for all we know. Feeding her to that big tentacle thing. Also, did you always wish you had more dynamite on board? Because boy, did I.
Oh,
Yeah.
I only used it on occasion, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went back and bought a lot of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I carried usually like 2, and as soon as they were gone, I was like, oh god damn it, it's another one of these things. Especially in the lava world, there was like, I don't even know, 20 places to bomb. Like it was a lot.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's a
man.
lot of-
Stuff to go through up there, but I don't know. Otherwise, I think everything else is just kind of, they had little variables in the game we mentioned too in our chat, like the dog tags. I think we said without being a spoiler, like the guy was collecting dog tags and he gave you a really good reward. And of course, every time they gave you an item that wasn't like a coin or something, I was like, is this going to be important? I don't know, because you could sell everything off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then later I was like, son of a bitch. Yep, he wanted that now.
Oh,
But you don't even know who's collecting some of it right away. So it's like,
true.
whatever.
Yeah, which I mean, it makes it a little bit believable because I mean, outside in real life, you're not just going to hang on to everything you've got, especially if you're just trying to, put food on the table day to day, and if you come across something shiny that would sell,
Yeah.
you'd probably sell it. Yeah.
I mean, I almost wonder if this game would have been more interesting if it had been harder in that, Joe, like the equipment didn't respawn on some of the shipwrecks, and like to get a, like maybe there was one way to get a perfect run through on the game. Like you had to collect all the dog tags for that guy, and you had to collect all these for this other person, and you had to sell the right things to get like exactly enough to build the ship to the perfect ending. And if you fucked it up, well, then you could get a good ending still, but you couldn't get the perfect ending. I was really surprised there was no like that I recall, at least when the game was over, there was never like, congratulations, you got this many out of this and this many out of that. Like that seems like such an easy thing to put in the game, even from a
Yeah.
small team.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't think there was anything like that either. But I do agree that I wish that more of the side stuff factored into what ending you got. But if there's only the two, then yeah, a lot of what you do in between, it matters to your personal story, but it doesn't matter to the ultimate outcome of events. So,
Well,
but again,
yeah.
a 4-person team. So I mean,
that traveling merchant should probably stock more supplies. Looks like you're hitting everything with your boat. Can't just expect me to have all these things on hand all the time. Very that character didn't really fit the rest of the game, but I enjoyed that she was everywhere.
yeah, she was actually one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I
in all
like her a
honesty.
lot.
Yeah. She always had like a little quip or like a little observation. It's like, oh man, you look terrible. You know, you should get some sleep. Kind of a.
Mm.
Oh, that was one other thing I noticed. At the end of the game, I think Brett, you had said like you could start to buy the research parts from her,
Yep.
later on, and like I did that for a while, and then she stopped getting them, and I was like, oh, this sucks, and like she never restocked. And then I realized there's an algorithm that the game uses where you have to purchase a different item from her for that item to restock. Because at first I was like, this is based on days
okay.
or something. So I'd go back like a week later and she still didn't have it. But then if you bought like a single, like light or something from her, then suddenly she'd be like, oh, here's a research part. Sweet.
Interesting.
I don't think I ever had to buy any research parts. I just found a lot of them. Like
You must have not been raped by the phantom shark enough times then.
Got me a few.
Yeah.
In all fairness, who hasn't?
I mean, he was a prick. All right. Anything else on this one, gents? Let's see. Are we up to throwing a number on this bad boy?
Sure.
So.
Should we go through in the order that we played the game in?
It works for me.
Sure.
We'll simulate this as the days went by. So Brett will go first, and then a week later, Joe will go and give his answer.
All right. So yeah, I enjoyed playing this game a pretty good amount. I felt like the fishing was pretty relaxing and chill, and pretty enjoyable. Again, like I said, despite it being very simplified, it was pretty enjoyable. The story was a little light, but it wasn't bad. I mean, I wasn't complaining about it. Other than like the fact that you could miss a lot of story if you weren't exploring a lot. I think my biggest gripe with it is that it was a lot lower on the horror side than I was expecting. There was plenty of like little chilly kind of things and jump scares and things that scare you back to port and things like that. But I rarely felt like actually like scared of anything in the game, really. Even like at the nighttime horrors were kind of like, oh, that's a little creepy, but no, I'm not like not really impressed by this that much. I mean, overall, like I say, I enjoyed it. I think it's been like 132 days or something in the game. It took me 22 hours to beat it game time. And I think by the end I had like $30,000 saved up. So I had everything I needed and just kept fishing anyways. Like well, let's go fishing because it's kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, I ended up actually playing it a second time because I was curious how quickly I could beat it. And that number for me was 7 hours. So you can, if you just want to zip through it, it's not a long game. But yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable enough the second time. Like didn't feel like a chore to go back in and play it. It's a good enough game that I went, was happy enough to play it a second time.
Did you do the good ending? Is that quicker, I'm assuming?
Yeah. I just went straight for that basically. Yeah, so overall, enjoyed it. I think it's worth the cost because it's not like was it $30, I think? So it's not like a super expensive game either.
It's 20, 30 to the digital fiscal, maybe.
So I'm going to give it a 6.66.
Whoa.
In part for the irony, but honestly, I think like that's pretty accurate score as well. So, yeah, it was enjoyable. but a little short on content and low on terror.
Nice. Is it me?
It's you, Mr. Rush through the game.
I am actually gonna hew fairly closely to what Brett said, and spoiler alert, also pretty close to his rating. I enjoyed this game for what it was. It is impressive that this was made by such a small team. It feels like a real game. Like I think Cody, I think you said that, for as small and finite as the map is, it feels like there's a lot to explore and a lot to experience. I really wish that the plot had been a little bit stronger. I also while I did enjoy the fishing mechanics for what they were, I wish there had been a little bit more involved there. And that just felt really monotonous to me after a while. I didn't check my official playtime, but I would guess that I spent somewhere between 15 and 20 hours on this game. A lot of which was just spent fishing. And I wish that didn't feel quite so samey. And I do agree with what Brett said about the horror elements. I wish that had been stronger. I like how things escalate at the end, but I feel like they could have woven some things a little more strongly throughout. But yeah, overall, I would give this a 6.5. I think it's an enjoyable game for what it is, but for what it is kind of an important part of that statement.
Okay, well, I was just thinking too, I don't know if we mentioned the two creatures on the shores that it's like the fake boat and the what's the other one? Fake rocks? No, what's the rocks?
Yeah.
Those guys. The first time I came on one of those, I was like, what the
in the Twisted Strand area, there's one disguised as an airplane as well.
Oh, yeah. Good call. I had a lot of fun with this. Now, some games I rate based on just the experience of playing it with them, and I think there was a lot just the fact that we were all playing this one probably is going to give it minorly more points than maybe it would if I just picked this up on my own, because I did feel we were not competing is the wrong word. Corroborating, camaraderie. It's not corroborating, but camaraderie. I don't know. Anyway, it felt like we were all part of something bigger since we were all playing the same game.
Collaborating, maybe?
No, because I don't know. Maybe I guess this is our collaboration. I guess maybe it was because we did talk a little bit outside, but I enjoyed it to the point where like I said, yeah, maybe. I was playing Assassin's Creed 2 at the time, and I basically paused that game entirely to just play this one over and over and over because I had fun going back to this world and trying to find the stuff and do the quests and check out the new worlds. And I do agree that they shove a lot of stuff on these islands. It amazes me actually that I would still find new things on the limited islands that are on the map hours and hours into the game that I had somehow missed before, and I just can't imagine how. But because at one point I even just trace the shorelines of every island, I thought, and then later on I'd still find something on the shore that I had missed, like those altars or something that was still out there. So there was a lot shoved into the little world. I wish there had been more still out there in the world. I don't know exactly what else they would have added, story-wise or mechanically to the game that's wasn't already there, but I do wish there was a little bit more to the game itself, or more characters you could meet, or even more quests, even if they had been simple or something else. I do think the game bottlenecks itself a few times, just in terms of if you are stuck needing certain materials for some part of your ship that you need, that you're required to have for a quest or for a side quest or whatever, and you don't have that, you kind of get stuck for a little while. Or like I mentioned in mine, there was a couple times where I actually felt like I couldn't find materials, particularly I think it was cloth at one point. I just could not get cloth to show up no matter where I went and what shipwreck I dredged up. It was
wood. I found so much cloth.
Maybe, I'm thinking now it might have been wood, actually. That was the problem child. But the hardest one I felt was supposed to be that refined metal one, and I had plenty of that right away. So that was kind of weird. I liked, just like I said, that there was a lot to see, a lot to explore. I actually liked the fishing. I was really determined to catch all the different types of fish once I got into it, and that was a lot of fun. I do like that there's at least multiple endings to the game. I'm still, I guess, saddened that I didn't get the good ending like everyone else did. But for four, yeah, exactly. Well, literally in the ending I got, but for the small team that created this, it's pretty cool that that's something that's out there as a pet project you worked on, and now people are playing it and enjoying it. So I really hadn't thought about a number for this one coming into tonight for some reason. So I guess I'd probably go like probably a 7, just because I don't know that it's a 7, but like I said, just like the experience of playing it all with all of you is definitely probably something that raised it up just a little bit. And I don't know, we should do this more often with like the same game, everybody going on same time.
I agree.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure what one we'll do next, but I do like that idea. Okay, I guess that brings it to me. So this one, on paper, this should be like made for me. I've always had a fondness for like underwater or ocean centric horror. Like one of my favorite horror movies I remember from my childhood objectively it's just a cheesy ripoff of Alien, called Leviathan, which I watched when I was probably far too young to do such things. But yeah, it was essentially like Alien except in an underwater base, and I loved that as a kid, and I've always kind of enjoyed water centric horror ever since.
Pause. I hate to interrupt you. I might have asked this before. Did you watch the Kristen Stewart underwater Cthulhu-ish movie?
Yes.
That was actually not bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but it was better than I thought it would be.
Probably her best role I've seen her in. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. But yeah, even that, I went to go see it because I like underwater horror. So I went into, I was a little on the fence about this one because, fishing sims and, those sort of like life sim games they've never really been my thing. But when the rest of you guys said, hey, let's give this a try, that was the nudge I needed. And I did enjoy my time with this one. But I do agree with what a lot of you have said, that the horror element was very much in the background. Some of the things that jumped out at you were scary the first time, or at least like startling. But overall, I expected there to be a lot more creeping dread, a lot more things happening, like to say the NPCs or to some of the islands, demonstrating the fact that things are really getting bad, that something really horrible is encroaching, and you're playing a part of it whether you want to or not. But for most of the game, like everything you do, every artifact you find and whatnot, it doesn't seem to really have any effect. It's just like, everything still looks the same as it did before. Even the sanity things, all you need to do is sleep for a few hours and you're back, right as rain pretty much. I thought there would be more of a lingering sense of dread just throughout this entire thing. And when that wasn't there, I felt its absence. Let's put it that way. That said, there's a lot of stuff to discover in this. If you like just kind of open world exploration, there's a lot to enjoy here. But a lot of it feels, in a way, kind of empty, at least in terms of impact. Like even the horrible monstrosities you're pulling up from the depths, they don't do anything for the most part. They're just there. And sure, you can sell them, and occasionally certain NPCs will ask for them, but there's a certain like investment in the world that is lacking in a lot of this. And I mentioned earlier that for me, a lot of the story didn't even enter the picture until the very, very end of the game for me. So the whole experience is kind of lopsided, and I liked it. It was calming at times. It was relaxing. So occasionally it was a little tense, but it just never coalesced into a really cohesive whole until the very ending. And it was a decent ending, but overall as an experience, I've played better. I've certainly played worse too. So I know this is supposed to be friends occasionally not disagreeing, but I'm going to have to throw in a very similar rating to the rest of you, 6.5. Because it's not a bad game by any means. It's especially impressive, like we've said, for a team of 4 people, but it wasn't what I hoped it would be.
Don't forget the voice actors.
And oh man, they knocked it out of the park. So yeah, it's an interesting curiosity, but don't expect to be terrified or really blown out of the water. Sure, I'll own that one.
There we go. All right. I was just gonna say there were parts towards you. Definitely, the scariness went away as people are mentioning, but I definitely was like, as the more I'd play the game, push the boundaries of like how insane I could get. So that was that was kind of fun too, just to see.
Yeah,
I have to keep looking up this flying thing. Maybe I made this up. I'll have to go check those screenshots I took. I doubt I got one of that though.
I do like the fact that we're doubting what we've seen at points, because I mean, at least that is giving this kind of a unique flair where
That's true.
yeah, it does play up the insanity effects a bit, and I do have to give a tip of my hat to that.
All righty. Well, is everybody good for tonight?
Yeah,
I think so.
Was Dredge by Black Salt Games, and a little fun one to pick up if you're looking for something there, or maybe about a 6.7-ish average or somewhere in there, probably.
Yeah, it's
rounded
on
down.
every console, every platform, which is the only reason why we were able to do this.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, that's a good point. What did you played it on?
I was on PC.
PC. I was on the Switch.
It's also on the Switch.
I went PS4 simply because it was $10 cheaper on GameStop. I just didn't realize it would take, that $10 savings would equal 3 or 4 weeks worth of time. But
oh, is that why? Because it was the version?
It might be. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Okay.
Yeah.
That was weird because the GameStop's not usually
no
so slacky on getting stuff out, I didn't think.
Yeah.
I was actually impressed that Zelda game today, to be quite honest. In the mail, I was like, but we'll see if we get some of that. All right, everybody. This has been Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. If you happen to be a new listener to us, we're all over the place on all your favorite streaming platforms for podcasts, and our social media empire now includes Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. And you can catch out us and some of the other hosts that we have on here from time to time, stopping in at least once a week with all of you, usually on Monday morning. And I guess that's it. We'll leave today with our traditional theme song, and we'll do the
Sea shanty.
Ooh, yeah, let's do
boy.
that. Let's do the sea shanty as we head out today. Justin can lead us since he thought of it.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening, everyone. And until next time, we are friends occasionally. Each other friends occasionally.
Friends
Not
and
disagree.
not
Disagree timbers.
Yeah.